Market Monday, exciting content to be released this week. We're going to go over all the leaks and everything. Let's get right into it. Content schedule, a lot of fluff, right? You're going to see team captains, head-to-head rank, but we do have roster evolution. All-Star Athletes Release 2 is the main content drop of the week. And then Reduxes, that will be 97 overalls, which we'll get into in a little bit. But let's go over first the ranked rewards for the next session. Now, I'll say this, Ryan Leaf being the Legend tier player is very odd. This might be the worst Legend tier reward we've gotten this entire year. I mean, just taking a look at the built-on abilities, right? Hot Rod Master, Gunslinger, and Identifier, right? I would have liked to have seen maybe a run and gun, some sort of ability, or X Factor as an ability, because one thing also to note, Zion McCollum has pick arts in mid-zone, but he's a 99 overall. And that tells me this next rank session is going to be a very, very long one. I believe the Kyle Van Noy we're getting in-game tomorrow for the last rank session is a 97. Minka being a 99. This McCollum being a 99 overall tells me it's probably going to last 40, 50 plus days, whereas the last few rank sessions have only been around 30 days. So this one probably going to be a long time before we actually see these cards in game, which is why I said the Ryan Leaf built-on abilities are a little bit disappointing. The Colby Parkinson also, if you want to see a tank and red zone threat, actually looks like for 0 AP with 96 speed, though I'm sure look at all 32 team camps. Colby Parkinson's really, really tall. I believe he's 6'7 or 6'8 actually in game. Now getting into MUT leaks, though, we got a bit to go over. First up, and I think he actually has it pinned, or actually let's go over this first. We do have some sort of April Fool's content, right, that will be dropping in-game tomorrow. Seems to be like one card. Usually the April Fool's content's a card that's, you know, super juiced, super good. And it'll only be good for either that one day or a few days, and it'll go back down to a normal overall with normal abilities. Now getting into, let's do roster evolutions first. We've got David Njoku, Demario Davis. I don't know who that number 23 is in the Cardinals. Looks to be a defensive back. And Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah, we'll see how those cards are. Roster evolutions have been getting better each and every week. Now on to All-Star Athletes Part 2, which again is going to be dropping, we think, this Thursday. Top left is going to be Charlie Ward, right? Renowned dual sport athlete in college, played baseball and football at Florida State. And also I think he played, he might have played baseball at Florida State, played basketball. I'm pretty sure he was in the NBA. I want to say he played for the Knicks back in the day, but he actually never made it to the NFL. So this card will 100% be like the Jim Thorpe, where he's going to get all 32 team camps. We also have Larry Allen, Calvin Johnson, Ed Too Tall Jones, DeForest Buckner, Derrick Henry, Anthony Edwards, the first ever kind of different sport athlete making his way, you would say, into MUT, like that is in the NBA that he's currently playing, and Ted Hendricks. We'll see if Anthony Edwards also gets all 32 team chems. But this drop looks to be absolutely stacked. Remember, these cards are not only going to be champions at what we think is going to be their normal position, but they're also going to get an out-of-position card, right? So Calvin Johnson, we're probably going to see, and this is a weird one because he has that rank card, but we're probably seeing a wide receiver Calvin and a defensive back Calvin, right? Ed Too Tall Jones, famously known in MUT for getting a wide receiver card, and then he'll probably get a defensive end card as his normal champion. Larry Allen will be a left guard or right guard, whatever position they want to give him for his standard position. And then probably like a D-tackle, defensive end, maybe outside linebacker for Larry Allen. Charlie Ward will probably be a quarterback. That's what he played in college. And then some sort of defensive player. Anthony Edwards is probably the most interesting one. We'll see what positions they give him. DeForest Buckner, probably D-tackle and then an offensive lineman spot. Derrick Henry, I wouldn't be shocked if he got like a running back and a quarterback card. Just quarterback Derrick Henry. And then Ted Hendricks, right? Probably outside linebacker Ted Hendricks, and then we'll see what his other positions, maybe tight end, maybe running back. I don't know. We'll have to see. Definitely some possibilities on these cards. They just write great height and speed to a lot of these athletes. But those are your 8 champions. You could technically say the 16 champions, right? Because they're going to be getting their out-of-position cards too. And then we also have a LTD, what looks to be a running back Penei Sewell. Or maybe potentially it's a tight end Penei Sewell. Actually, that's going to be my prediction. Tight end Penei Sewell there, out of position. And then we also have one other LTD, if I can find it. It's going to be Randy Moss, and I could pretty confidently say this is probably going to be a cornerback Randy Moss, given we have a wide receiver Randy Moss added 97 overall, I believe. Probably going to get Redux actually this week, but cornerback Randy Moss. We haven't had a cornerback Randy or a DB Randy since, I believe, Zero Chill or around that time, I want to say. But yeah, All-Star Athletes Part 2 looks insane, man. Galvin Johnson, Ed Too Tall Toe, Ed Too Tall Jones, Anthony Edwards, Ted Hendricks, Randy Moss, Penei Sewell might be the overall drop of the year, but we have to wait and see abilities on those cards. If you want extended coverage of the market and how I make my coins, subscribe to the Coin Bible exclusively on Team Get Lucky, link in the description. Now getting into MUT, let's go over the AKA content. I told you guys they were gonna eventually cook on AKA, and I don't think they fully cooked this week, but they did a pretty good job, right? Quadfather AJ Dillon, gonna have the cheapest Freight Train X Factor in the game at 1 AP with his tank being 0, Bulldozer being 0, and Backlash being 0. Those abilities on his 98 overall card are going to be for 1 AP more, so Freight Train for 2, Tank for 1, and all that good stuff. We also got Jack Gibbons, I believe his full name is, and this card also pretty good, although I will say, with Pat McAfee coming out later this week, or able to upgrade him fully to the 98 or 99 overall that he is, it kind of does put a damper on this card, but he gets Avalanche for 1 AP. I wish the mid-zone was 0. Mid-zone being 1 and Avalanche being 1, he's pretty much just a faster version, I would say, of Brian Urlacher, but not that much faster, right? But he still overall is a good card. I like seeing Avalanche on as many linebackers as they can, because again, that's what makes the cards unique. So yeah, Jack Gibbons also a very good card, 97 speed, 6'3", mid-zone for 1, Avalanche for 1, and honestly, AJ Dillon and Jack, I thought they would be going for a little bit more than what they are. They're going for around like 550k. Can build them for around 500k if you want. Here's the 98 overall quad father. LTD, of course, still going for a ridiculous amount, around 3 million coins. Even though there is an LTD opportunity pack out, which is the first time we've seen it in some time. It's a 50-50 on if you get that AJ Dillon, although it is going to be a $50 pack. We also did see this Superstar Duo Opportunity Pack in the store, 2 90s, 195 plus, and then 2 90 or 98 overall players. This actually has had a pretty big effect on the market at especially 98 overalls. It has lowered also the 95 over market back down to where it was prior to this weekend. But 98 overalls, especially the older like Ultimate Legends, you're seeing Joe Montana, Lance Briggs. I think the Ring of Honor cards too also are significantly down. Again, like hyper on the 98 overalls because they're being packed, you know, the most frequently in that offer. Looks like Marshawn Lynch is down a bit today. Main thing though I've seen is the All-Star Athletes from Part 1 are very, very cheap. These cards were all really above 600k over the weekend with the Plat offer now in the game. Plat offer was in the game. Now that it's out and we're seeing this offer in the store, the 98 overall All-Star Athletes are a bit down, but I would recommend, though, with this all being said, I would recommend waiting to buy the All-Star Athlete Part 1 Champions. The reason that is the completionist sets. If you have not seen the completionist sets for All-Star Athletes, of course, they require every single champion in the game. And the last time we saw this was during Team of the Year. You'll see it here in sets. I have not done any of the completionist sets. I also don't think the completionist sets are really worth it this time around. You pretty much are getting 20 All-Star Athlete upgrade tokens, which is going to get you 2 BND 98 overall All-Star Athletes, which is still okay. However, the tax from doing the completionist sets is going to stack up very, very quickly. So if you're willing to pay like 300, 400k for 2 BND 98s, you know, that's fine. But you're not getting that LTD like we got for Team of the Year. But speaking of Team of the Year, that was the last time we saw a completionist set in the game. And how the market reacted was when Part 2 released and people were scrambling to complete the completionist sets, the Part 1 champions crashed in price because everyone kind of had them saved going in for Part 2. And then the Part 2 champions were uber expensive. You remember Team of the Year, right? Part 1 came out and the champions were like 450 to 500k at the most. They eventually went all the way down to like under 300k, 250k even when Part 2 released. And everyone was kind of completing the completionist sets and selling, right, spamming, rushing almost to sell back the 98 or the 97 overall Part 1 Team of the Year cards. However, the Part 2 champions, if you remember, were going for like 700, 750k. They were significantly more expensive than what the Part 1 champions had gone for. So that's what I'm doing, right? We'll talk about my team, but if I'm going to pick up any of the Part 1 champions, I'm just going to go based off what Team of the Year happened, and I'm going to wait to buy my 98 overall champions. But you do have to be pretty early on. You want to buy them right within the first hour or 2 or 3 of All-Star Athletes Part 2 releasing. But yeah, Part 1 champions, I'm going to hold off still on buying. And then, yeah, we talked about already the Part 2 champions, some really, really good cards. You can expect them to be pretty expensive. You guys, though, might notice my coin count is absurdly high, and that is because I have sold 95% of my team. The only really cards that are still remaining are Trevondre Sweat. The only reason I didn't sell him over the weekend was he had kind of dropped in price with Quadfather being announced, and I bought him for 3.3 mil. He's around 3 mil right now. I'm hoping he goes back up, you know, once the Quadfather eventually goes up and out of packs. Potentially both those cards do rise if we get no other good running backs later on this week. And then defensively, I have Malcolm Jenkins, Brian Urlacher, and Isaiah Simmons. That's really about it for the sellable cards there. Speaking of Malcolm Jenkins, and really just to harp on the point of me selling my entire team, if you guys were not on over the weekend, we got that plat offer Saturday morning, and the entire market, for the most part, had risen. The market still is relatively expensive, right? I still think you can go out and still sell your team and, you know, potentially buy it back on a later date. I've kind of made the conscious decision, and yeah, it looks like the market's already come down a bit, even just from yesterday, but I sold off my team with the intention, really, of potentially buying it back once the Sugar Rush promo starts, which, again, that's going to be the 10th of April, so not this upcoming Thursday, but the following Thursday. It's pretty much locked and confirmed, for that was when the Easter promo is going to start. But speaking of 97 overall LTDs, they are getting Redux later on this week. That's going to fall under the categories of the Combine cards. I think Genkai Force, although Genkai Force LTDs aren't really that exciting, right? And a few notable Ultimate Legends. So if you do have those 97 overalls, I would recommend, especially the super expensive ones, right? Mainly the Combine ones and a few Ultimate Legends. Let me see if I can figure out. I know I sold Randy Moss over the weekend for 1.5 mil. I'm sure there's a few other 97 overalls. Randy now is under 1 mil. That's about it for those. Let me see if I can get the Combine LTDs up. Combine or Reduxes are usually dropping on Thursday alongside the new content, and usually there's an offer out that makes the 97 overalls a little bit, or the new Redux cards, semi more affordable, but they usually stay pretty expensive a bit early on. Malcolm Jenkins hasn't really moved from this past weekend. He's still 1.6, 1.7. The big boys, though, Cordero Patterson now under 1 mil, Don Terry Poe under 2 mil, sorry. And then where's Micah Parsons? Micah Parsons at 2.25. Christian Watson around that same price, 2.3, 2.4 mil. I would play it safe. I would probably sell off those cards, especially too. I think almost the biggest factor this week with these LTDs that are super expensive is we're getting a lot of really good cards on Thursday, right? Those All-Star athletes, right? Calvin Johnson, Ted Henry, those are cards that are directly going to affect the price of a Micah Parsons, of a Christian Watson, a Cordero Patterson, a Malcolm Jenkins. So I think more than anything, right, moving off these super expensive LTDs, I think it's about time for the Combine LTDs with these All-Star Athlete Part 2 cards come out. And even if the Combine LTDs, you want them back on your team, you see the All-Star Athletes, they're not as good as you think they are, or when they come out, right, you could probably buy back those Combine LTDs at somewhat of a discount and at least save you some coins. Hopping into the market, though, I'm going to tell you guys the same thing I told my Coin Bible members just this past day and even over the weekend. Until the market comes down in price back to kind of normality, you would say, from the plat offer, because the prices, while they have been coming down today, are still a little bit inflated from where they were, you know, prior to the platinum offer on Saturday, right? 96 overalls last Wednesday and Thursday were 100,000 coins. 94 overalls were minned out last Wednesday at 42,000 coins, right? They're still going for 60k. And then 95s, although they did rise in price due to the result of All-Star athletes just releasing, 95 overalls were going for, again, 75 to 80k last Wednesday and Thursday, and they're still right at around 115k unfiltered. Your All-Star athlete cards, if you're trying to prepare for All-Star athletes part 2, I mean, these things are going for 135, 140k. If you want to pre-build an All-Star athlete champion for part 2, which you can, it's going to run you around 600,000 coins, which is probably still going to be cheaper than what the best All-Star athletes are going for on Thursday, but 600k for a pre-built champion, it's leaving you not much room to make profit. You're pretty much relying on the All-Star athlete champions to go for almost 800k plus, and well, I think they could go for that off rip. It's very unlikely they stay at above 800k. They'll probably settle somewhere around the 600, 650k, 700k range this Thursday. So I don't really think, unless these All-Star athlete cards come down in price, I actually had an investment on them prior to the plat offer coming out. I had 200 of these things at 105k Friday, but I sold them all for like 145 to 150k over the weekend. I think, you know, maybe they go up to 160, 170 on Thursday, but even if you're buying them for 135, 140, you're not really making anything off them. So unless the market drastically changes and any 95 overalls come down in price, or All-Star athlete 95 overalls come down in price, I'm probably not really going to do much prepping, much pre-building going into Thursday. It's going to just kind of be a wait and see for this content drop. We probably need a few content drops, that is, for the market to get back to where it was again prior to the plat offer. I think really the only plat offers I can recall from the past few years usually come around Christmas time. So like a plat offer would come out a week before Christmas, and then the Christmas market crash would kind of just get the market back down to where it was. But you know, dropping a plat offer in March, you know, there's not that many packs being opened every single content drop. So it's going to probably take another week or so to get the market back to where it was again prior to the plat offer. And then once we're at that, right, we got the Easter promo next Thursday. So we're probably going to see an overall boost there, 99 overall champions. And at that point, the market's got to drop even more once we get that overall boost and the odds boost. So right now, right, there's a reason I sold my team, right? We had the inflated market over this weekend. We're still at a bit of an inflated market right now, so I sold my entire team. There's nothing really to invest in. There's still ways to make coins right through sets and other stuff, but I'm really not about that life. So I'm kind of just chilling when it comes to Madden Ultimate Team right now. We'll see this Thursday, right, if All-Star Athletes Part 2 is as good as we think it's going to be, and it drops a lot of the older cards. I'll probably go back and buy a lot of my Combine cards, my Team of the Year cards, right, my older promo cards. But, you know, for the time being, I'm kind of just chilling on Madden Ultimate Team. I'm fully liquid. I'm waiting for the market to drop, and, you know, we'll see when that eventually happens. That's all, though, for this Market Monday. I will see you guys all in the next one, and until then, peace.